Welcome to the Meat Mistress podcast. I'm your host, Emma Butler, and this is my audio diary of life on the farm as a full-time farmer, wife, and mother, not always in that order. And oh yeah, I also own and operate a butcher shop. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time as I chat all things farming, small business, and more. Hello, welcome back to the Meat Mistress podcast. Happy New Year to you. It is 2024. We just rang in the new year. It's newly 24. And you guys, we're literally 2 days into this new year, and I just got to brag. I've been hustling. Your girl has just been putting in the work, and admittedly, I started putting the work back in December. So like previous me, she's always got my back. Previous me always seems to have like future me at the time, so current me now, her back. I always got my own back. So in December, I was hustling hard. I was lining up contracts, following up on some sales leads, doing all that kind of stuff so that in January, I could take some, dare I say, time off with my family to celebrate the holidays, but I would also have a nice stack of work to return to. So previous me really had it going on, and I just had to brag about that. The reason why I'm jumping on this podcast today, I'm going to continue this small business series because for me, if you joined us last year when I started the Meat Mistress podcast, I started the podcast just as a way to talk about things. And I tried doing a couple of those episodes where I just kind of talk about, my life and stories and feelings and, all of that is great. I am not knocking any of those episodes. And if you go back and listen to them, they will still be relevant. However, the small business series that I literally decided to start in the tractor cab when we were driving around during wheat season, because if you're just joining us, my husband and I are also full-time farmers. We have an on-farm store. We have a butcher shop. We've been married for 8 years this year. We have 4 kids under the age of 6, and that is us in a nutshell. My birthday is also in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be 31 years old. There's my synopsis. There's my resume. But when I decided to start the small business series, it just was a time where I needed a place, again, which is why I started this podcast in the first place, to just talk about the things and the topics that I needed to get off my chest and get off my brain. And the series for me was healthy. It honestly did me so good. And my brain has just been spiraling, thinking of things that I wanted to talk about. My notes app on my phone is full of all these ideas and these things that are happening in my business that I know that you will be able to relate to, whether you are a seasoned veteran business owner and you definitely know what you're doing and I don't, I'm just figuring it out. But if you're at that level, or if you haven't started a business yet and you're thinking about it, this is going to be the place for you. This is going to be the place where you can just land and kind of just sit back for a few minutes, take in some information, and maybe hear what I have to say. Maybe you agree with it. Maybe you think I'm full of shit. Either way, I appreciate you being here, and I want to try and add some value to your life and to your business, and I want to see us all win. I truthfully want to see us all succeed and all excel and do this thing, because too many businesses and too many small business owners have been closing recently. I don't know if it's like just coming up, now, or if it's always existed. I don't know, but I've seen a lot of small businesses pivoting, in ways that I never would have seen coming for them. I've seen small businesses close up shop, and it's really, really sad to me, to see somebody, I don't want to say give up on their dream, but give something up that, they've worked so hard for, because as entrepreneurs, like, you already know it, we're given it. We are constantly out of 10 all the time. You always have to be on. You always have to be thinking, you have to be proactive. A lot of times you are the only one in the business. So I get it. I feel you. Like, it's not for the faint of heart. And if it was easy, I'm sure everybody would do it. But the cornerstone of this podcast, and the first one of 2024 that I wanted to talk to you about, is a topic that I'm sure you can tell by the title is something new to me, and it's kind of controversial, I guess, a little bit in the sense that, I don't know a lot of other business owners that are maybe at this crossroads. Maybe you're meeting me here and we're here together. Maybe you've already surpassed this, or maybe you haven't thought about it either. But the conversation that I want to have with you today is about paying yourself. Let's get right into it. So it's no surprise to you that I repeat myself a few times on this podcast. But again, I don't know where and when you're joining me. I don't know if you follow me over on Instagram. I'm at J&E Meets on Instagram. I don't know if you follow us on Facebook. I don't know much about you, but through this podcast, you're getting to know me. So I do repeat myself, and that is just so that we can all stay on the same page. But I want to take you down a little rabbit hole, a little timeline, if you will, of a series of events of how our business came to be. And I'm talking more about like the interior of our business. So just going to quickly recap. We started our business out of our garage. I was literally barefoot and pregnant. It was December 2018, and my husband and I were like, let's start a business. And I whipped up a logo and I made a Facebook page and posted it, and that's how it went. We have been farmers our entire lives. Both my husband and I separately have been farmers our entire lives. And then so it's just kind of fate that we are together and we're farming together. We're raising beef. We raise lamb. We raise chicken. And that is what we mainly focus on. So when we decided to start our business, we really wanted to bridge that gap between rural and urban. And we really wanted to show people where their food came from, who raised it, how it got on their plate, and just be transparent. Farmers have nothing to hide. We are the experts. If I could give myself a PhD in farming, I would. My husband would be higher than that. I don't know what's higher than a PhD, but he would be higher. He'd have 2 PhDs. The point of the story I'm trying to say is we started a business because we wanted to connect people to their food. Done deal. So we started barefoot, pregnant in our garage. And then we quickly learned that we're tapping into a very niche market that in our area in particular was kind of untapped. Nobody was going to do it the way that we were going to do it. And I guess like a lot of the questions that I get asked repetitively, one of them is, how do you do it? How do you have a husband and a farm and a family and do wife stuff and take care of the house and blah, blah, blah. Guys, period to this, and I know that other entrepreneurs can relate to me when I say this, is I am built differently. I am built differently, period. That is how I can do that all. I also probably have a high-functioning ADHD, but that is a story for another time. I can do it all because I'm built differently. There's not a lot of people out there that can do what I do, that can function at the level that I function at, that can execute the way that I can execute. And I knew when we started this business that I could do it differently and I could do it better, and we could really build something here together. I just knew that. I'm not being cocky. That's just literally the way things are, period. The proof is in the pudding on that one. So we started barefoot, pregnant in our garage. Then a few months later, we decided to build a very small farm store right outside of our house. At the time when we were building our small farm store, this is the way manifestation works. At the time when we were building this little 12 by 20 farm store, it's got a cute little like wraparound porch. It's adorable. It's a whole situation. At the time we were building it, we built it knowing that we were going to outgrow the building and that we were going to use it for something else on our farm, like storage house, garage. I really wanted to homeschool the children and had all these thoughts of like, oh, I'm going to teach them in there, which I still might, but nevertheless, we knew when we were building it, we were going to outgrow it. We would build a bigger building later. And for right now, this was just going to get us started. So 4 months into our business, we built a farm store. We invited people to come to our home, like literally where we lived, where our cattle lived, where our children lived, where we lived. We invited people to come to our home that wasn't our garage and purchase our farm to table proteins. Literally, that's what we said. Come to our farm, see the cows, buy the beef, have a great day. And we did that, and it worked flawlessly. And then there was the slandemic, which, we can't say that word out loud because then you get censored, but it was a slandemic. And that was an interesting ride, that whole situation. If it weren't for Levid, our business would not be where it is today, period. That was the best thing that ever happened to our business because people started really questioning things. That timeline during the slandemic, when people were, they were locked in their houses, because, that's what we were told we had to do, or strongly suggested that that's what we do. Anyway, farming didn't stop during that time period, by the way. I'm just chatting with you. You're my friend. Farming did not stop. The rest of the world seemed to stop, and, we really were fed by the media that the world stopped, but farmers did not. Our lives completely continued as normal, and so did our business. Our business boomed during that time period. So many people were doing their research. They were asking questions. They were starting to wonder, what am I putting in my body? What am I eating? How does it affect the way I feel? Where do my ethics lie? People were really questioning things, and they were questioning their health and all types of things. And we were still open and operating as usual. We followed, certain suggested protocols as per our municipal health regulations, but, we kept running. This was our home. This was our business. This is what we did. I'm going on a rampage. The point that I'm trying to get to is cut to, we had our cute little farm store at our house. And then in 2022, we had another baby. So we had baby number 4, because that's what we're good at. And we also began building our larger farm store. And we also were going to amp up our business by adding the element of a custom butcher shop. So we are going to dry age all of our meat. We are going to cut and package it all right here on the farm, in-house ourselves with in-house professional butchers, and we were going to sell it direct to consumer. So previously in our little store and in our garage, we had an abattoir that's local to us do all of that for us, and then we just retailed it. It was our product, but we were just selling it. So leveling up our business was expanding with our new retail location and our butcher shop. The key element internally and business-wise was butcher shop. We're now going to do everything start to finish all ourselves. Now the location of our shop too, we decided to move it away from our house because our kids did not ask to have a business outside of their door. They didn't ask for that. We couldn't even let our dogs out to go pee because there'd be people coming and going, which is a great problem to have. I'm not complaining at all. Super grateful for all of the OGs that came and visited us right at our farm when we had it outside of our house. But that was very temporary. And we knew that when at the time we expanded the business in that way, we knew that was very temporary. It just was what it was. It was a great time, but it wasn't permanent. It wasn't going to be a 10-year thing for us. So we built our new farm store and our butcher shop still on our farm. Our farm is very large, and we just kind of built it on the other end of it. So literally, this is going to sound so honky-tonk, but it's down the road and it's around the corner. I can still see the building from out my kitchen window. I can still see the employees when they get to work because I can see them pull in while I'm doing dishes. So it's still on our farm. It's just on the other end of it, and it's literally down the road and around the corner, but you get it. So where we are now, and this is what brings me to my subject. After all that time and that big story that you just listened to me long-wind, so thank you for still being here. The point that I wanted to get to is that entire time, I did not pay myself, period. So that entire time, which was 3 years from our garage to where we are right now, went by, which is still crazy fast. Honestly, this is placid. This is crazy fast. And then we also had babies and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I know, we are nuts. But again, nobody can function as highly as I can function. So that entire time, I did not pay myself. I did not take a single cent out of the business whatsoever. It was a decision my husband and I made. How all of this came about actually is I was on maternity leave with my first child, and then we decided to have another child. So I clearly was not going to go back to my office job, we'll call it. I worked at a tractor dealership, so it wasn't really that much of an office job. However, I was not going to be returning to that. But I was on maternity leave. So then when my maternity leave ended, my husband was like, the farm can keep you home. There's enough work here for 2 of us. The farm can keep you home. And that was great. It was awesome. I helped him feed the cows. I did all of the field work exclusively with my husband, in terms of harvesting crops. I ran the buggy. Ran wagons, all that kind of stuff. Hay, you name it. We did that. I took care of the sheep with him as well. I worked on the farm. That is what I did while I subsequently had children and raised babies and did all that. And then when we started our little farm store, Same thing. I still worked on the farm full time. So I was taking a wage because I'm sure you're like, if you didn't pay yourself, girl, how'd you make money? Like, how are you guys a one income household? We weren't. I took a wage from the farm. Now that's a whole separate ball of wax. The farm is a separate incorporated company from our business. J&E Meats Incorporated is a separate business. But anyway, we'll get into that another day. However, I was taking a wage from the farm. So I wasn't taking a wage from our business, which was our farm store, but I was getting paid because I worked on the farm, and so does my husband. So that's how we were making money, if you're wondering. But I did not take a wage from my business. Flash forward to where we are now. I started paying myself out of our business in mid 2023. The business was doing very well. All of my employees at this point as well too, I will note that I did hire part-time employees in 2021, 2022-ish, because again, I was going to have another baby and now I had my own business, and I don't know how you go on maternity leave when you own your own business. If you're new to this, you have to keep working, but I needed somebody to physically run my store. So I did hire an employee, and that's kind of how my employee journey started. Chiefly to that, my employees always have to come first. My employees always have to get paid, period. When we expanded our business in the way that we did, where we built our bigger store, I was stressing a little bit because when I was crunching the numbers of what I was going to pay everybody, which was very well, nobody makes minimum wage at the business. I have students, so that's different, but nobody that's in like a higher elemental role makes minimum wage. They make much higher than that. And I'm so proud of that fact. I am so proud of the fact that we are able to employ 4 full-time employees all the time, and everybody is doing very, very well. That feels ballsy. That is a boss bitch move to me. And I am like, hell yes. Yes. I think that's like, for me, the pinnacle of our business being successful is the fact that we're able to build this little micro economy in our cornfield, and people are able to work here full-time, have tons of work to do, lots of fulfillment, and they also are able to feed their families off of what we're able to do here together. So that is a boss bitch move, period. Ain't nobody ever going to take that away from me. But I wasn't getting paid. I was always paying the employees, and I was never getting paid. As our business has grown, I have not been able to do the farm work that I was kind of hired to do, I guess. I'm not able to do both. I can't do farm work and run the business and do my children. Like, I have to set boundaries. So unfortunately, the farm work had to fall by the wayside. My husband, being the incredible man that he is, has taken on more than he's had to, which is maybe a little bit toxic, but we'll get to that later. He's been able to take on that role, and him and his father are able to absorb a lot of my role when I was on the farm. So I've had to focus on the business a little bit more. And that being said, it kind of came in the middle of 2023. I was like, I'm not doing anything on the farm. I mean, I am, but not to the capacity that it was. I do not want to take away from the farm. I stopped taking a wage from the farm. So I had quite a gap where it still did not click into my brain that I have a big girl business that is making big girl business money, that is able to employ all these people, and your girl wasn't making any money. Like, that didn't make sense to me for so long. And then one day it just kind of clicked. I was like, oh my God, I need money to pay my car payment. I mean, obviously I could ask my husband if I need money or whatever. Like, this is not a money podcast, but I'm just telling you, I was like, oh, I need money to pay my car payment. And then I'm like, how am I going to get money? Like a dumbass. I was like, what? How am I going to make money? Girl, what are you doing? You have a business, you have a job, you have a career, you're a CEO. I literally am a CEO, and did not compute that I could make money from my business. And that was because I was in just like with the blinders on of the employees have to come first, the business has to come first, every single cent has to go back into the business. I am glad we did it that way, because I, again, don't think the business would be where it would be had we not done things that way. But there was a few times where I was like kind of penny pinching, and I was just like, why am I doing this? And then it finally clicked. I should pay myself. Why am I not doing that? So I revisited all the numbers, kind of calculated, how much would wages be if I factor me in, yada, yada, yada. And I just kind of was like, well, there's the answer. I pay myself. Like, it took me forever. So what I wanted to put in the forefront of your brain is, if you own your own business, And if you're kind of thinking the same thing as I was of like, every cent's got to go back into the business, let me tell you, I wouldn't say it was a mistake because I don't make mistakes. I'm perfect. I'm just kidding. But I don't have any regrets. I try to live my life with no regrets. So one of the things that I wish I had done sooner, not a mistake, not a regret, but one of the things I'd wish I'd done sooner was pay myself. Paying myself has been something that has been a game changer for me. It's given me such fulfillment. It feels good to like make my own money, and I have my own money separate from like my husband. Like obviously we have a joint account for like, stuff and house and the children. But I'm a big girl. I got my own bank account. I've had my own bank account since before we got married. Like I make my own money, and I make my own money from my business. And for myself, in my heart of hearts, that is really, really fulfilling to me, to be like, wow, I created this thing and it's sustainable and it's making me money so that I can turn around and pour back into the business. But it's also making my coworkers money, because I'm in a weird place where I'm the boss, I am the CEO, but I'm also a coworker because I work alongside them. I don't know, it's complicated in my brain, but that was one of the things that I wish I'd started doing sooner. I wish it hadn't taken till like August 2023, 3 years into my business for me to start paying myself. I kind of wish that was something that I had been doing all along. Now, obviously, too, we did reap the rewards, I guess, of our business because we have a meat store, right? So, I mean, in terms of that, I would take steaks from the store or, a roast or ground beef or whatever, right? Like that was, I guess, how I was paying myself. And in my own mind, that's how I was justifying payment, is I would take, like a roast or whatever. But, when I zoom out on this situation, I'm like, girl, you should have been paying yourself so much sooner. I should have been paying myself so much sooner. So the point of this podcast that I'm getting to very long-windedly, I wanted to get all this story out of me before I explain it, is you need to start paying yourself and don't feel guilty. So the other part of me that was kind of like about paying myself was I felt guilty. Like I kind of had that. I don't have mom guilt in like real life, but I have like business mom guilt. Is that a thing? Because my business feels like my child. I felt guilty. I felt like if I was paying myself, like somehow it would hurt the business, or it would inhibit the business from being able to, make investments or buy more product or pay the business bills. I don't know. I literally don't know why I told myself that I can't pay myself. I don't know why I said that to myself, but I did. And I told myself that for so long. And I'll go back to that story I said earlier of like, I was wondering how I was going to make my car payment. And I'm like, what? That don't make no sense, because I'm working for this business 365 days a year. I work 7 days a week. I work all the time. I will answer emails and stuff at midnight. I will respond to Facebook messages at 2 a.m. if I'm up. Like I'm constantly on for this business all the time. I'm never really off for this business. Even when over the holidays I've taken time off, I've still been on. I've still been checking my emails and doing Instagram and social media and all that kind of stuff. So I really guilt tripped myself. I really thought to myself, like, I can't pay myself because it's going to take away from the business. And I don't know, again, why I landed on that, and if you meet me there, if you are kind of thinking of something similar, like, you can't pay yourself, I'm here as like your internet big sister and your small business big sister to tell you, yes, you can make it work. Start doing it. Period. Like just start doing it, because you're not going to stop. That's the other thing. You're not going to, once you start paying yourself, you're not going to be like, oh, that was fine. Now I won't take a paycheck for 6 months. Like you're not going to do that. I mean, maybe in some worlds makes sense, but it doesn't make sense in the real world. So I'm here to tell you, like, you need to start paying yourself and you need to start thinking about paying yourself. And you don't have to pay yourself what you're actually worth. So let me put it this way. In my business, I'm the kingpin, right? Like I'm the kingpin, I'm the queen, I am on the throne. It is me. I am what makes the world go round for that business. I am easily $100 an hour employee. Now, if you're laughing at me, thanks. But I'm serious. Like, I am the accountant. I am HR. I'm head of sales. I'm head of marketing. I literally am the CEO on paper. I am the manager, the general manager. I am everything in this business. Now, I do obviously have staff. I actually do have a general manager, and she's more like my boss. But I do everything in the business. I do every single thing. So if I was to break myself in a bunch of little pieces and hire people for this role, the amount of people that it would take to replace me in the business is probably over $100 an hour, to be honest. But I am a $100 an hour employee. Am I going to pay myself $100 an hour? Maybe one day. That'd be sick. Could you imagine how baller? But I'm not going to. I'm more of a realist, and I don't need that wage either. Like, I don't live this like luxury lifestyle where I'm buying like $10,000, purses and stuff. That's cool if you are. Like, by all means, girl, get that bag, do your thing, whatever. But I don't need that. I just need enough money to make my car payment, get my hair done, buy stuff for my kids, groceries, whatever else I need. I don't really need any much more than that. So I pay myself, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I pay myself, but I pay myself somewhere between like that $19 and $25 range. I pay myself somewhere in there. And again, I'm not telling you exactly how much I make, but one day I might be a $50 hour employee, who knows? But right now I landed somewhere in that range, that $19 to $25 range, to pay myself an hourly wage to cover the things that I need. Now, one of the boss things that I'm learning about owning your own business is you can pay yourself whatever you want. Like, if you want to pay yourself $5,000, you can pay yourself $5,000. Like, it is your business and you know your numbers and you do your thing. But the other thing to paying yourself, and I'm just going to jump into the nuts and bolts of being a business owner here in Ontario, Canada, is that you are also paying into things like CPP and EI. Well, actually, shareholders can't pay into EI, so I take that back. But you're paying into CPP for sure, which is the Canadian Pension Plan. And those things are important, parts of earning a wage. So all those years that I went not paying myself, I guess, like, it's not like it hurt me, but it didn't help me, to put it that way, right? Like, it didn't help me. I didn't have necessarily like a nest egg of extra income sitting around. I wasn't paying into CPP or anything for those years that I was chiefly kind of off. Actually, it wasn't even that long. I digress. But the point is the sooner you start paying yourself out of your business, the better for you emotionally. It will be better for you. It will be better for you economically, so you can pay for the things that you need to live your life so you can run said business. But it also will benefit the business. And how paying yourself benefits the business more than you not paying yourself is you really get to see the nuts and bolts of your business. Like, at the end of the day, when you break down what your costs are to run your business, you'll realize how small your wage actually is compared to the bigger picture. Like, just to put things in perspective, I guess, for you, like, I'm paying like $2,000 hydro bills a month, right? Like, my tiny little bit of wage is nothing compared to my hydro bill. So my business is fortunately able to cover all the things and all the stuff. So why would I not pay myself and my employees and be able to pay my hydro bill? You know what I mean? Like, me shorting myself out of that equation doesn't make any sense. And me wondering how I'm going to pay my car payment doesn't make any sense. That does not make sense. I'm just telling you right now, you need to start paying yourself. You cannot feel guilty about it. And you need to start soon, like now, like your next pay period, do it now. I also will say, again, from the nuts and bolts of being a business owner, when you are already paying yourself and you've already got that figured out, because man, figuring out payroll and doing all that stuff is hard. It's hard for me. I don't have a math brain. I don't have an accounting brain. It's very, very hard for me. I fortunately was able to find a really great Canadian company to work with that manages my whole payroll. If you want to know who I use and why I like them, you can DM me on Instagram. I'm at Janie Meets on Instagram. Just ask me, hey, what's your payroll company? And I will give you all the details on that and who I use and what I use, because I really, really like them. But what I'm saying is, even if it's just you and your business and you don't have any employees yet, if you are foreshadowing that you know that you will, figure out how to do payroll and deductions and all that hoopla now when it is just you, because it's because this is what I did, right? I wasn't paying me. I was paying everybody else. It's way harder to figure out how to pay other people when you're not confident in what you're doing. If you already know what you're doing and you've already got a flawless, payroll system and you got deductions figured out and vacation and all that kind of stuff, when you got that all nailed down and you're just playing around by yourself, you will be way more confident when you go to pay people, because for a little while there, I was just paying people and hoping that I was doing it right. Now, again, I'm really grateful for having the payroll company that I do, because they were a huge help. But what I'm saying is, you know what I mean? If you're going to be paying other people one day, it's way easier to have all of that jazz figured out when it's just you by yourself. Again, you need to start paying yourself. You need to start doing it now, and you need to stop feeling guilty for it, because that's the only way your business is going to flourish, because you'll be more confident pouring into it, because it's another thing that you're going to learn. It's another step that you're going to take towards building a solid foundation for your business and allowing your business to grow. And you deserve it. That's how I'm going to end this podcast, is you deserve it. You deserve to be paying yourself. You deserve to get compensated for your time. You are valuable. Your time means something, and your business could not flourish without you. So you have to start paying you for your time. I'm going to leave you with all this information. I really went off the rails there for this first podcast of 2024. Thank you so much for listening. I really, truthfully do appreciate you being here. If you're at this crossroads in your business, again, I would love to chat with you about it. Send me a message on Instagram. That's the quickest way. I always name drop that. Send me a DM on Instagram, because it's the quickest way to get a hold of me. And I love hearing from you and chatting with you. And I love that you've given your time to me this afternoon or this evening or this morning or whatever it is you're doing. I will talk to you again very, very soon. And remember, don't feel guilty about paying yourself. You are valuable and you matter. I will talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Meet Mistress podcast. I'm your host, Emma Butler. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. Thanks for listening. I can't wait to see you back here again. If you'd like to keep up with all things happening J&E Meats, which is our farm store and butcher shop, you can find us over on Instagram at J&E Meats and on Facebook as well too. I will talk to you again very soon.